This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first, call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee with your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 an order. Additional terms apply.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a music podcast where we chat to a new guest each week, talk about their life and creative endeavours, and talk to them about some of the music they love. Our show works by chatting to our guests about music, but also getting them to make you a playlist of the songs they love. You can find a link to our playlist in the show notes. Welcome to episode 28. I'm your host, Simon Fink. Our guest today is Tori Forsyth. The Australian singer-songwriter has released her new single, All For You, and will be releasing her second full-length record in May. In today's episode, we talk about the blurred lines of music genres in 2021, recording with Shane Nicholson, and her love of Hole and Nirvana. Here we go. Our guest today is an upcoming Australian singer-songwriter. She's previously been compared to acts like Angel Olsen and Lana Del Rey, and has just released her fantastic new single, All For You. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Tori Forsyth. Hi, Tori.
Hi, how you going?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
That's good. Now, congratulations on the new single, All For You. It is out now, and I heard that originally you weren't a huge fan of the song.
Yeah, so I wrote that song probably 5 years ago when I first originally started playing music. I had the chorus kind of sitting around. It just didn't fit anywhere with any records, and I didn't like it, and it kind of followed me. I'd kept the chorus and rewrote the song probably 3 times, and I just gave it to my manager, and she was really, really keen on that chorus, and so I rewrote it again, and All For You was born.
What was the catalyst for the original song 5 years ago?
To be quite honest, I don't remember. I think that I was writing a lot, and I was writing a lot just for the sake of writing exercises rather than just when. Now I kind of only write when I feel the need to write, whereas back 5 years ago I was writing just to get better and writing a bunch of different genres. It's quite a poppy song, which is not generally what I've ever done in my life. So that's why I've never felt like it fit anywhere. But yeah, look, I don't remember the original reason behind it, but I think it was probably came from an exercise of me just trying to write as much as I can.
Yeah, of course. When you do kind of, and I know you said there was a bit of a push from your manager, but when you do revisit songs from years ago, I guess what kind of method do you go through to work out what kind of still works and what kind of doesn't?
This is actually the first time I've ever done anything like that. I'm really not a procrastinator with writing. I'm very much someone who likes to start and finish a song, and then if I don't, then that doesn't exist anymore, sort of thing. It gets forgotten. So I've got lots of voice memos and plenty of journals with half-written songs that I just don't remember anymore. So that's the first time I've ever had to or felt any need to go back to a song. So there's no real, I guess, method-wise, I don't have one. What I did was just sit down with it and listen to it a few times and just kind of think, okay, well, what can this become? How can we make this better? What can I actually draw on to include in a song to make it A, relevant, and B, something that I'm happy to sing and perform, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think that because I imagine that the song has been recorded and kind of mixed and mastered for a little while now, having written it at one time period and then having sat with the recording for that period of time now, is I guess listening to it now, does it still sit the same way, if that makes sense?
I think it sits a bit better now for some reason. I think that, I mean, like I said, it's not anything I've ever done before, and I was kind of nervous about putting it out purely because I do tend to do a lot of different things. I think I've kind of like, my evolution is very like, oh, let's dabble in this. That's just because I listen to a lot of music and I'm inspired by a lot of different music, and I don't really like to have one particular like genre that is my thing. Like I love metal and country and blues, and I love everything. So to put this song, a pop song out, something that I listen to quite rarely, but I do listen to it, but not as much as I guess other genres. I was really nervous about it, but I think now that it's out, I feel like more at ease with it, and it makes sense to me now, like why its purpose, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely it does. You've been quoted as saying, just touching on the different genres, you've been quoted as saying, I'll listen to heavy metal in the morning and blues and country and folk, and roots at night. In 2021, how important do you think it is to have like a varied taste in different genres?
I think every single artist ever, no matter what you do, I think should be have a really wide scope of what they kind of consume as an artist. I think that, painters, obviously, whatever you're into, they're going to look into modern and they're going to look into everything. I think the same kind of, it should be the same with music, because the more that you expand your, like what you know, and it's interesting kind of diving deep into different genres and how that, like, the history came about and how different they are, but they're not that different. It's just different sounds, and they evoke different emotions, I think, which is what I find super interesting. I don't know, for me personally, I do put a lot of my time into, like, lately I've been listening to like Celtic metal. So look, I do put a lot of time into trying to like diversify what I listen to, and the amount of things that you pick up and the different like instruments that they use and the different ways that they can form melodies in different parts of the world. It's really interesting, and I think that is such a crucial element for songwriting and melody writing and just becoming better. I think the more that you can never learn everything, but it pays to try and like consume as much as you possibly can, rather than going, okay, well, this is where I sit within my art and that's it. And you can only really go one way if you're thinking that way.
That's very true. Very true. When you are looking to diversify, how do you kind of, like, I'm curious in this instance, how did you come across Celtic metal as like an option to diversify with?
My partner actually sent me a band. It's like it's Nordic metal. I think it's the official name for it. But my partner got me into that. He's very diverse and he's listening as well, so that helps. He's not a musician. He just loves like very as far as finding other music, I think just looking, like going on to, I do use Spotify a lot for looking at different, like also listening to, or that common part in it. And just listening to playlists during the day. I listen to music pretty much all day, so I'll just put something on. If I like it, I'll just hit the little like button and then go back to it. But I'll just chuck on a random playlist usually, and things will come up that I enjoy, and then they kind of take you down different little avenues, and then you're like, oh, that's cool, and then you listen to, common artists around that, and then you're like, oh, that's cool. So I don't know, it's just very fluid, but yeah.
Like a never-ending wormhole almost.
Yeah.
The single is in anticipation of your second record, which is coming out in May. How long, I guess, from the process of the first record to now, how long have you kind of been working on these songs and working up to the second record?
Well, this record was done pre-COVID. So obviously there was hesitation to kind of put anything out during pandemic, and I am glad I waited because I feel like I can focus a little bit more on it rather than, in that panicked worldly state we were all in this time last year. But yeah, so this has been particularly long process for that reason. But as far as writing for the record, I started writing for it fairly quickly after I released Dawn of the Dark. And I had already, at the time of the Dawn of the Dark release, I had already started kind of expanding my musical taste quite substantially. So it was very natural to start writing in that way as well. But yeah, it's kind of just like All For You was recorded last year, but the rest of it was recorded before, the pandemic. So I think it's quite a long process. But
the record's name, and I do apologise in advance because I know I'm going to get this wrong. Provlepsi. Is that close?
Provlepsis.
Oh, so
close. Provlepsis.
I tried to do my research, and that's what I got. So I apologise.
That's okay.
It does translate to predictions in Greek. Do you think that any of the songs that are currently on the record, and as you said, you've now had time to sit with them almost for a year, I don't know, we discussed All For You, but for the rest of the record, has those songs and their context kind of changed with being able to sit with the record?
Yeah, and that's kind of where the record name came from. At the time I'd written this record, obviously, the time I was writing for it, but when we were recording it, I kind of didn't really know why I was writing what I was writing, and I was just letting it happen, and it is what it is sort of thing, and which is strange for me as someone who writes purely from personal experience, but hindsight.
This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first, call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee with your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 an order. Additional terms apply.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
It just hadn't happened yet. And I think that it's the reason for the name is just because I think our intuition is incredibly strong, and sometimes we just don't listen to it as much as we probably should. But that's kind of very relevant now, which is a very strange thing to kind of think about, because usually, you write a record and after, by the time it's recorded and, the whole thing gets out of the world, it's like, well, that was a while ago, wasn't it? Sort of thing. Like, it feels very relevant to the last 6 months of my life, and it's a very bizarre thing, but yeah.
Do you find that there's quite a spiritual element to your music in terms of your lyric writing?
I think that I do draw on a lot of, spiritual concepts, and try to infuse it into my writing, because I am a fairly spiritual person, and it's not something that I have been very open about for this last probably a year, but I am incredibly spiritual, and I do love that, spirit soul connection, and I do think that I do try to infuse a lot of those things into my music, because it's part of me, and it's just like that extra extension of me in the song.
Yeah, no, definitely. The single and the record, you worked with Shane Nicholson, who's a brilliant artist in his own right. How did that kind of meeting or collaboration come about?
I met Shane very early on of my career, when it wasn't a career at all. I met Shane in 2015 through Trent Crawford, who produced my very first EP, and Shane engineered that EP. So I met him that way. And from then, I kind of built a relationship with Shane. And he came on to do Dawn of the Dark, and then now Problepsis. And I think that he's very similar in the way that he approaches music. He loves all sorts of different music. And I love that, because I can go to him with any band and he'll probably A, know it, and B, give me another band that I'll probably like, a similar sort of thing. So his knowledge for music is pretty phenomenal, and when I go into the studio, I can trust that he's going to get what I'm going for with my record.
Do you find with having a producer who is so, knowledgeable in terms of all these different kinds of music, do you find that does mesh well with yourself, or is it a thing where sometimes you don't want that influence or knowledge of other acts or whatever it may be to influence the music?
For me, I think it really works, because we do have a lot in common as far as bands and what we're into. He's shown me a lot of the bands that I'm into. So I find it to be very useful. I think I can understand people who might not, but for me personally, I do want to try and cram as much into a record as I possibly can without it sounding odd, that's that's what I'm into. And because I said, I listen to so much different music, and I want what I listen to and my music to be a representation of what I love, which is obviously why we all do music in the first place. But I find it very useful.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. I believe that you were lucky enough, maybe one or two false starts, but you were lucky enough to be able to play some shows at the end of last year or the start of this year. How did they go in terms of obviously having a whole year off of not playing and then coming back?
Yeah, it was bizarre. I had 4 shows and 2 were cancelled. So we did 2, and one wasn't a show. It was a 3-song thing. So it was we did 1 show, basically, last November. It was great. To play again was, you just it's we all were just so stoked to be there that the energy was just optimum, And I think that the appreciation of gigs, I always love playing with my band. That's what I love about music, that energy. And when you're all on the same wavelength, there is honestly no feeling quite like it, and it's hard to even articulate. But to have us all there, you know, playing again was amazing, and to have people show up, obviously even better, despite, you know, the seating arrangements and all that kind of thing. But yeah, it was fun. We did a pretty good job, I reckon. We weren't nervous or anything like that.
Always helps, yeah.
Yeah, we were just happy to be there, and, you know, look forward to being able to play again, hopefully some shows around the record. So yeah, it's I have missed it a lot.
I was going to say, do we have some shows planned for around the record in a few months' time?
Definitely in the works, yes.
Beautiful. That sounds very good. Tori, would you be happy to talk about the playlist that you made for us?
Yes, I would.
Now, when I first listened to All For You, there was, I think it might have even been like maybe a little bit of like the guitar layering like in the bridge or in the verses that almost had like a little bit of a Fleetwood Mac vibe to them. And you've opened the playlist with Rhiannon by Fleetwood Mac. What is it about this song that you love?
It's one of the first songs that I kind of fell in love with for every part of it. I sent you the recorded version, but the first version I actually ever heard of Rhiannon was the 97, the dance version, where it's just piano, and they've got the marching band. There's no marching band on Rhiannon, but they've got the marching band, and that concert is like the most epic thing I've still ever seen in my life. It's just so flawless. But I grew up with that being a DVD that was just always on. My mum played it to death, and I fell in love with that version of Rhiannon. And then I didn't know, like as a kid, I didn't actually know that there was another version of Rhiannon. So when I heard the recorded version, I was like, oh, wow, this is fun. Like, you know what I mean? So it has a really special place in my life. That song is something that I can always put on and feel comforted by, and I even play it just to myself sometimes, and it's just that like instant like
How much do you think of your musical taste has been influenced by your parents?
Heaps. My parents have always listened to a lot of different music, and I think that's why I probably like a lot of different music as well.
Yeah, no, of course. You released the song Courtney Love last year, and the playlist includes songs from both Nirvana and Hole. Were you always a big fan of grunge, or was it something that you came to a little bit later?
I was definitely a massive Nirvana fan in high school. I don't think I really succeeded, never mind. But as about a couple of years ago, I had a surgery, and I really don't know how it came about. I think it was like surgery, and I just kind of fell down a Nirvana interviews rabbit hole on YouTube, and started listening to them again, and then I wanted to learn how to play bar chords. So I literally had all this time on my hands, obviously, and just put on Nirvana records and started learning how to play bar chords and teaching myself. And that's how I pretty much got into them again, and then just got a little obsessed, just like a little bit obsessed.
Did you see oh my God, I'm going to forget it. What was the documentary, the Nirvana documentary?
I've seen a couple. Yeah. There's the Soaked in Bleach one, or there's the one that Francis helped curate, which is the cartoon one.
I think that's the one I'm thinking of. It's interspliced with like cartoon, yeah.
Yeah. Have seen.
The playlist also includes some great Americana or folky kind of acts like Rustin Kelly and Civil Wars, and obviously there's a country tinge or flavour to some of your music. For yourself, do you think that because obviously every music genre kind of has its purpose, but would you agree that, and please debate me if not, that country or folk do have, I guess, a stronger storytelling ability than maybe other genres of music.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think that country and folk, they were birthed on the idea of telling a story, and that's kind of the core of what those genres are about, which is why I love them, because you hear records like that Russ and Kelly record and the Civil Wars. I mean, they got me into a lot of, I fell in with mandolin listening to the Civil Wars. So, and the ability to storytell while it sounds almost like a dream space while you're listening to it. I love that. And I think, I completely agree.
Was there any other track that you would like to highlight or talk about from the playlist that we haven't covered?
I put some PJ Harvey on there, didn't I?
There was some PJ Harvey, yes.
Yeah. I listened to a lot of PJ whilst writing this record, and a lot of Audio Slave and Soundgarden. But I didn't put Soundgarden because I thought, one Chris Cornell. But lots of PJ across the board. There's no particular record that even I would put above the other. I think she's a real pioneer for that whole, this is the music that I've made, so here it is sort of thing, and isn't afraid to also bend the genre spectrum either. Definitely.
There's almost, correct me if I'm wrong, is there almost a little bit of like an homage from the album cover for your new record to a similar album cover of hers?
Yeah. I think, what's funny is that was not intentional, but the minute I saw it, I was like, that's a PJ Harvey record cover, isn't it? I'm happy to tell everyone that I ripped it off. That's fine.
Not even like a rip-off. I think it was more, I received the playlist and was going through all the prep for today, and then just seeing the name PJ Harvey and seeing the album cover, I think it was just almost like they complement one another. So not a rip-off. I think they work well with one another. Yeah.
Thank you.
All good. Tori, thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate it today.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me.
And that's our show. A massive thank you to Tori Forsyth. All For You is out now on all streaming platforms. We've left links in the show notes if you want to listen to the track or pre-order the forthcoming record, Prolepsis. We also want to give a huge shout out to Maree at Island Records Australia for helping out with today's interview. You can find a link to our Spotify playlist in the show notes, where you'll be able to listen to all of Tori's picks. If you like this show, please subscribe wherever you get your pods and stay up to date when new episodes are released. We release new shows each Thursday and Friday morning, with guest playlists streaming on Spotify at the same time. You can follow the playlist profile on Spotify, and you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until next week, cheers.
Never sleep hot again with Bowl and Branch's best-selling naturally cooling sheets. They feel super crisp and cool to the touch and are expertly designed for enhanced breathability so you don't overheat at night. Start getting your best night's sleep this summer with cooling sheets made with the highest quality materials. Try Bowl and Branch with a 30-night worry-free guarantee. Plus, get 15% off and free shipping on your first set of sheets at bowlandbranch.com with code BUTTERY. Exclusions apply. See site for details.